Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the January 8th Haysville City Council meeting. Roll call, please.
Brewster,
Here.
Walters.
Here.
Barton,
Here.
Ewart. Here. Benner,
Here.
Harton,
Here.
Crum,
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Thank you. The invocation tonight will be given by Kurt Henson, Haysville Christian Church.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I got to pray and run tonight, but I do have a service at the church, so 2 places at once. It's an honor to be here. Let's pray. Lord, I just come before you tonight, and I am just reminded of your words in the first Psalm. How blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the path of sinners, or sit in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. That person will be like a tree firmly planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season. Its leaf will not wither, and whatever it does, it prospers. But not so the wicked. They are like the chaff which the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. Father, we were reminded that those words not only apply to us as individuals, but can also apply to us as a city. We thank you for this city. I just thank you tonight for our mayor, for the members of this council, for department heads, for staff, for all those gathered here tonight. I pray for them to be that tree firmly planted, that in this year, together and collectively and as individuals, as we commit our plans to you, they'll be established. I thank you for this city. I just ask for your protection on her. I ask for a hedge of protection around our schools, our kids, our transportation services. Father, I ask a blessing on every home and every neighborhood. I pray every business would have their best year ever. And Father, through it all, no matter what, that we be drawn closer to you, closer to one another, and even more, be people of gratitude and of thanksgiving. In Christ's precious name. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we have presentation and approval of minutes. Minutes of December 28th, 2023. Would you like to make a motion to approve the minutes? Councilperson Burton.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of December 28th as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
Ewart.
Yes.
Benner,
Abstain.
Harton,
Yes.
Crum,
Abstain.
Thompson.
Yes.
So next we have administration of oath of office, but I believe that was done for Councilperson Hartman.
Yes.
Item 1, citizens to be heard. We have Chad, he's the executive director at WAMPO. So I've asked Chad and staff to come tonight just to kind of talk about what WAMPO is and kind of what they do for our community. So if you don't mind coming up to the podium and introducing who you brought with you and kind of talk about WAMPO for a few minutes.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you so much for the opportunity tonight. I'm Chad Parasa. With me is Peter Moore, principal engineer at WAMPO, and also Daniel Asher, who's a planner at WAMPO. WAMPO stands for Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. And then Peter and Danny have some presentations for you. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here to tell you about WAMPO. We do have some slides. If we could, well, we'll go through here. So what is WAMPO? Any area that has about 50,000 people or more are federally, or a city that has 50,000 or more people are federally required to form a metropolitan planning organization. And it provides local elected officials with input on planning and implementation of federal transportation funds and long and short range planning. Oh, thank you. Additionally, the Wampo area has more than 200,000 people within it. It's a Sedgwick County, a little bit of Sumner, that includes Mulvane, a little bit of Butler County, that includes Andover. And because it has more than 200,000 people, that makes Wampo a transportation management area, which gives us the ability to award some federal funding directly from the Federal Highway Administration. Are those? Oh, thank you. Ah, wonderful. So everything I just said up there is up there for y'all to see in a much simpler format. Thank you, thank you. So we'd receive direct funding from the Federal Highway Administration to select projects in the Wampo area. It varies year to year, but it's about $10 to $15 million per year. So we go to next slide. Thank you. And then you can see here, this is the Wampo area. Again, includes a little part of Butler County, a little bit of Sumner near Mulvane. Has, if you believe it or not, there's 22 different cities within that area. I was surprised the first time I learned that. But if you do actually count them up, they're all there. So go ahead and go to the next slide here. So how does Wampo help cities in the region? So first, by developing our Metropolitan Transportation Plan. It is the epitome of long-range plans, and we'll get a little bit more into it here. We also developed the Transportation Improvement Program. It's a list of regionally significant projects. We'll talk a little bit more about that too. And very importantly, we are responsible for bringing federal transportation dollars to our region through grants and other funding mechanisms and much more. So, thank you. And let's talk about the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. It looks at the next 20 to 25 years. It's created with extensive public input. It's a comprehensive plan that looks at the current transportation network performance, transportation network safety, future travel demand modeling. Our newest MTP that we're developing includes an extensive economic development report. We update it every 5 years. We're currently in the process of updating it right now. And I put this bullet point at the end by itself. The MTP also contains a list of future regionally significant transportation projects that may be constructed in the next 20 to 25 years. It's a large, comprehensive list. It's available on our website to go and look at. I encourage you, if you do have the time, to take a peek. This next one, as I was talking about earlier, we're developing the plan. I'm going to turn it over to Danny here. We'll talk a little bit about our public engagement in developing our long-range plan.
Perfect, thank you, Peter. So as Peter said, that we are currently working on the new Metropolitan Transportation Plan that will be adopted in May of 2025. And in that process, there are different phases of public engagement. We're currently in our second round, and you can help during any of those phases of public engagement by sharing your input with us. For this round, we have a survey that's available on our website. It's at wampo.org/MTP2050, and that survey is available now through the end of February. We also do public engagement out in the community, like the pictures that you see here. We attend events all around our region, gathering input in order to best serve the community. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Peter.
Thank you, Danny. We were developing the slides and we thought we can't lose this opportunity to get more people to engage with the survey. Our next big important item for short-range planning, we'll talk about the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program. It lists all regionally significant local projects up to the next 4 years. It's maintained by WAMPO staff in collaboration with KDOT and Federal Highway Administration. It details funding amounts and sources for every significant project in the region. Go ahead and go to the next slide here. So here's Haysville in the TIP, the project, the North Main Street reconstruction. It's cut off there a little bit, but I put it north to south because, well, I always try to fit in the project as best I can. But sometimes it requires a little bit of finagling to get it on a slide. But you can go ahead and go to the next slide here. So the North Main Reconstruction Project reconstructed and paved the North Main Street Road in Haysville. This is the project scope taken directly from our TIP on our website. Reconstruct and pave the North Main Street in Haysville. Maintain the existing 4-lane arterial roadway with curb and gutter from Grand Avenue to Valley Center Floodway Bridge. This project includes a sidewalk along the west side of North Main Street and a signalized pedestrian crossing at Carla Avenue. You can always take a look quick outside over there to go see it. If you can go back just one, I'm sorry. I wanted to mention, so the lead agency on the project, City of Haysville, this project was awarded $1,744,000 in federal funding from the WAMPO Federal Funding Program. Just one of many awards to different jurisdictions all across WAMPO, but it's just something I wanted to give a concrete example of what we can do for the different projects in our local jurisdictions. Okay, thank you. We go. So, federal funding. I want to kind of just talk about the process of how that happens in fastest way possible. So often projects begin the process for consideration in WAMPO's federal funding program when they are submitted by local jurisdictions for inclusion in the Metropolitan Transportation Plan or the Transportation Improvement Program. Afterwards, WAMPO staff and a special committee evaluate projects, develop funding award recommendations, and we do this on a routine cycle. And these proposed funding award recommendations are then considered by our two important committees. First by our Technical Advisory Committee, and then second by our Transportation Policy Body. Next slide, please. And so you can't talk about WAMPO without talking about our committees. So we have the Transportation Policy Body, which is WAMPO's primary governing body, provides final approval of all of WAMPO's proposed funding awards and planning initiatives. The Technical Advisory Committee provides technical insight on items prior to consideration by TPB. And so to kind of give you an idea here, if we do have a proposed funding award that WAMPO staff wants to consider for a project, it first goes to our Technical Advisory Committee, which its membership is local city and county and state representatives. Currently, many of those are engineers, but primarily it's a group of local experts, and it has actually defined expert roles, such as economist, public health representative, and an urban land use planning and development expert, among others. And these are defined roles that people are appointed to by the Transportation Policy Body. So they would take our example funding award, review it first, and as I was saying in their highlighted roles, lend their technical expertise and review of that. And then they would actually vote on whether to recommend an item for approval or even consideration by the Transportation Policy Body. So proposed funding award gets approved by TAC, or the Technical Advisory Committee. Then it goes on to the Transportation Policy Body, which is WAMPO's primary governing body, and its membership includes local officials from member jurisdictions, e.g. city council members, mayors, and 2 KDOT representatives, and then 3 non-voting members. I think it's Kansas Turnpike Authority, and then 2 Federal Highway Administration. I'll have to double check. But the 2 big things that they do is they will review and consider any planning initiatives, funding awards presented by WAMPO staff and recommended by the Technical Advisory Committee. And they vote on final approval of these different initiatives and awards. I wanted to hit those big ones, but I also didn't want to forget about all the little tiny things we do. I said tiny. We do many, many things. Many of these aren't very tiny. So, for example, we have the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, which is a plan to promote the general welfare and safety of all road users across the entire WAMPO region. The Regional Transit Study, we're looking at trying to coordinate transit authorities across the WAMPO region. Currently, there is no single person you can talk to across Sedgwick County and WAMPO in general to coordinate transit. Our Safe Routes to School planning, which will hopefully get a lot of planning assistance to different school districts across the entire region to plan for safety. Our electric vehicle network plan, our travel demand model, our economic development plan, much, much more, lots of stuff. And then on my last slide here, I'll talk about more resources on our website. So of course, Transportation Improvement Program and the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, they are available on our website. You can look at all those projects. It's a little overwhelming the first time you do, but I'll tell you it's well worth it. Of course, our committee meetings and minutes, but then also our data and reports. So we have socio and economic and demographic reports by city, regional economic indicators by city, regional employment by sector across the WAMPO region, historical population reports, and commuter flows between WAMPO cities. This is my list of my favorite things. There's still more on our website. Just go on to WAMPO and then go into our what we do in data and reports, and you can see all of this for yourself. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Chad here.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Will. I think there's the next slide of the map. Thank you so much. Will, thank you, I appreciate it. So Peter talked about the TPB, the Transportation Policy Body, comprising of elected officials, our mayors and council members of entire region in the WAMPO. So it is an honor to have our mayor from Haysville also serving on the TPB. It's a leadership that is dedicated for how can the region be successful? How can the region have this economic vitality? How can the region have an efficient transportation network system connecting each other? Mayor is one example of how someone goes above and beyond their jurisdictions to serve for the larger good of the region, and then how that unity among all these entities is the reason why we are successful in getting the State Department of Transportation dollars into region. One of the other things is Daniel also serves on the TAC, Technical Advisory Committee, and then Wilbach helps in many ways, like a project planning advisory committee. Wilbach is serving on, and then our mayor also serves as a chair for Technical Advisory Committee. These are all important positions where it is the region, but then region strives when the individual jurisdictions shine. Our mayor also serves on project selection committee that Peter was talking about, how the projects get selected, and then the committee that looks over how the technical criteria is developed by the staff, and then how the several projects. Although Peter has mentioned this $10 to $15 million every year, and for 4 years it's about 40 to 50 million 4 years, but still the needs of the region are large and this is not adequate. When the projects are many and the funding is limited, it's tough to make those decisions. What's the best for our region? So that's why we are very honored to have our mayor as a leader in this WAMPO. So that's WAMPO as a region, and we're happy to elaborate anything. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Appreciate you, all three of you coming down, and one of the current projects we have in there is the North Main Sidewalk going up to 63rd and over to Maple. So that's one of the current projects that's in there. Councilman Crum, you have a question?
I just have a couple of questions. Actually, the infrastructure from the federal level that passed, all the dollars they put in that. So was there going to be more than the 15 to 20 to 25 million, or is that dealt out a different way?
That's a great question. That's called formula funding from the recent legislation. There are also grant opportunities in addition to the formula funding. That Comprehensive Safety Action Plan is one of the examples of how we applied for the grant, and then we have a demonstration grant of $941,000 we just recently won. That will be distributed among City of Wichita, Derby, Haysville, and a few others. And we are submitting an implementation grant this year, 2024. That's ranging from $5 million to $15 million. Probability of winning the grant is about 30 to 40%, not a lot, but still. So there are formula funding opportunities that is fixed, and there are also several grant opportunities that are also go through the WAMPO. And one of the things about WAMPO is if any project is, federal funding is applied, federal funding requires that the project is listed in the WAMPO MTP, the Metropolitan Transportation. So that's how this agency has responsibility to developing those federally required documents. So to answer your question, sorry it's too long.
That's okay. So in other words, that money's gonna come from somewhere else, but you can apply for it to get it to come in.
That's true.
Okay, and then the other question is who do you guys work with to double check on, like, a big thing is infrastructure, especially bridges in the area. Do you guys have engineers just from WAMPO that go out and look, or do you have to rely on the county people to go and check those things out and get information back to you? How do we make sure our bridges in that area are safe for people?
Thank you, Councilor. That's a great question. Once the decision on a project is made and voted by the transportation policy body, the elected officials, then it goes back to Tony Ramirez and Bill Black, and they work with KDOT. There is a local projects division in KDOT that works with engineers and planners with the city. So once the decision of funding is made at WAMPO, it goes back to local cities and engineers of how the design requirements and federal requirements of the construction is, complied with all those regulations.
Well, if you're doing this far in the future, though, what I mean is like if, we've got a bridge that I think is questionable, that actually had a bunch of work on Meridian,
I see.
right? So let's say that, right now they say it's safe, but they think the lifetime of it might be 10 years. So they would put that in the plan that in the next 10 to whatever years, this may need to be replaced. How would you decide whether or not that was worth being put on to be considered?
Perfect.
Do you guys have your own engineers that go out and look at it, or you have to have the city engineers or county engineers come and say, hey, we'd like you guys to look at this bridge, we think it's nearing the end of its lifetime?
Perfect. So the bridge rating and the criteria and the structure of the bridge and condition of the bridge is compiled. The data is compiled by staff, and then all the bridges in the region are scored based on the criteria and the condition of the infrastructure and the bridge rating as well. And then this ranking of the projects is made. And then when the TIP, Peter talked about the TIP is a committed list of a 4-year committed list of projects. So then it goes to the TIP based on the selection criteria and project selection committee that makes the decision. And then the federal dollars come, and 80% of the federal dollars comes to that project, and 20% comes from the city jurisdictions. 80 and 20 matches how it's.
But you guys are able to track all the bridges in the area?
We request the data to be submitted, and then we rely on,
Okay.
that's how we work closely with staff.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you. Definitely appreciate you coming and sharing what WAMPO does and how it affects our community and the region. So thank you. All right, next up, we have Ken Booty. Like to state your name and your address, please.
Yes, I'm Ken Booty at 6603 South Broadway. And just have an issue that has come up here recently with some rezoning. I've distributed some papers that are, I'm told now, somewhat inaccurate, so hopefully we'll have something on the overhead that brings things up to speed. The maps that I used I listed as September of '23, but Will has indicated there's a different land use map that's in effect right now. Nevertheless, thank you for allowing me a few minutes to address the zoning change request that is to be considered at tonight's meeting. My goal is for you to consider overriding the Planning Commission's recommendation, or at the very least, returning the recommendation to the Planning Commission for review for the following reasons. First reason being the staff had rejected my request for postponement due to a scheduling conflict. Secondly, the staff had an omission of relevant facts to the Planning Commission. Thirdly, in the public hearing, Chairman Tim Azir specifically asked if there were any communications regarding this proposal, and the Planning and Zoning Administrator indicated none, even though we had had 2 in-depth personal discussions and he held a written record of my concerns, which are in front of you all. And he personally agreed to read those facts into the record. He assured me that this would have the same impact as personally attending the meeting. Fourth, Planning and Zoning Administration Secretary implied, and this is just based on the public review of the YouTube video, that the property being considered was surrounded by single family, when in fact, by my map, 90% of the boundary, north, east, and south, is heavy commercial.
Mr.
And-
Booty,
Yes, sir.
you mind taking the paper off the mic?
Oh, my apologies. Thank you. Thank you. That is muffled. Thank you so much. I didn't even realize there was a mic there. My apologies, and I'm thankful for that with my current voice situation. Again, by my map, 90% of the boundary, the north, east, and south boundaries, is heavy commercial, and the 10% referenced is across the street to the west. This misleading comment led the chairman to say, and I quote, "I think it makes sense to put residential against residential," when in fact this would create a checkerboard of building zones. By the same logic, I think it makes sense to leave heavy commercial against heavy commercial. The applicant's statements at the public hearing, again, off of the video, says, "I'm not in a hurry to do anything with the property." Next quote was, "You don't want commercial in my neighborhood, that would be bad." And finally, she indicated that this was preparing for the next generation. In other words, there is no immediate need for this zoning change. Final point, although the planning and zoning administrator states in his opening that the applicant desires to build a home on the property, the applicant stated with great clarity that she has no intentions of building anything in the foreseeable future. Her stated goal is to have the option of building or selling as a building site available for her daughter or her grandchildren. We're talking years and decades out. The applicant and I have been good neighbors for the 44 years that I have operated Air Capital Salvage. She and her husband purchased the property in question some 20 years ago as heavy commercial property. Until such time that there is a building proposal on the horizon, I see no prudent reason for the requested change. The documents I've given you shows a letter which was withheld from, quote, reading into the record and instead tucked into the back of a packet given to the planning board members. Reverse side shows the existing logical land use map as published on the Haysville website. The change that I was made aware of indicates that the property to the north is now single family, again, not used as single family, used as a private entertainment area. We have a swimming pool, a pool house, a volleyball court, certainly not building any homes there. So I'm at odds with why this request was granted. If there was a need to put a building up there. In a nutshell, what happened, the lady wanted to build a garage there that was identical to the garage on the front half of her property, and she was denied the opportunity to do so. I'd be thrilled if she put a garage up there. But putting single-family housing up against a heavy commercial operation is inviting trouble. We've been pretty great neighbors. I take pride in the fact that most of my clients come in and say, "Well, we never knew there was a salvage yard down here," and I try to keep it that way. But pitting us against each other just makes no sense. So I respectfully ask that you consider my request. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Stand for any questions.
All right, thank you. Well, we do have this coming up in a few minutes. I know this is not a public hearing. Councilman Walters?
Yes, if you'd put up that chart, that map again, would you explain the red blocks around that? What is being used for at this particular
That
time?
is currently used, they park a few things over there. It had been used traditionally as a truck farm. They planted tomatoes there, which was a challenge being right next to a facility like mine, but we got with the KDHE and made it all work out. Currently just vacant ground.
Okay, so those 4 quadrants south of the hashtag is vacant ground currently.
Yes, the 3 quadrants, the 2 directly south and the 1 to the east is my salvage yard. The one directly, 1 south of that quadrant and towards Broadway is another auto repair shop.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have item 2, approval of license and bonds. A, cereal malt beverage license.
I'm sorry, do I get to speak? I'm the owner
I'm
of
not
the
sure.
property.
We're going to a different item. Mr. Booty spoke under citizens be heard. We've got one other item, then the item for the zone change comes up, and I think at that time if council wants to ask.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
So, what would council like to do for the cereal malt beverage license? Councilman Brown?
I make a motion, we approve the cereal malt beverage license for Leaker's Family Foods at 201 North Main.
We have a motion and a second to approve the cereal malt beverage license. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Garden,
Yes.
Hewart, Benner,
Yes.
Harton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
All All right, next we have item 3, introduction of ordinances and resolutions. A, an ordinance rezoning real property located within the city of Haysville, Kansas, and amending the official zoning map or maps of the city to reflect such amendment, all pursuant to the zoning regulation of the city. Jonathan?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. On Thursday, December 14th, the Planning Commission reviewed a zone change for property located at Lot 1, Block A of the Shook Addition from heavy commercial to single-family residential. The property owner is getting her affairs in order and wants to be able to build a home on the property in the future. In 2021, she did a lot split and platted the property. The staff report is in your packet along with the letter from a property owner. This proposed zone change is going from a higher intensity to a lower intensity use. During the platting process, access was designated on the western side of the property, which is in a residential neighborhood. Several properties along Sunnyside Street to the north border heavy commercial along the east side. This is developed residential to the west and north of the proposed lot. The golden rules were reviewed in the staff report, and Planning Commission discussed the letter that was received. One of the golden rules, opposition or support of neighborhood residents, is a factor, but by itself is not sufficient reason to approve or deny a request. The applicant is present to answer any questions you may have.
Council have any questions? Councilman Crum?
We want her to step up.
Please state your name and your address, please.
Yes. My name is Adriel Barger, and I own the property. And it runs from Broadway all the way through into my neighborhood. I live at 115 Grover, which is where A Street ends. And I started this with a daughter. My daughter Susan wanted to build a storage building there for her boat and her extra vehicle. And she wanted to build it back where I could keep an eye on it. And then they said she couldn't do that because it would be basically a secondary to a house, a garage. And so then later on they decided she could build one over there, but it'd have to be up front, which is Broadway where the commercial property is. And the garage, the shop that Ken is talking about that's next to him, the man that runs that also lives in the house right there. And on the north side, there's a house. And then there's 2 houses on the north side of that even, on Broadway. And then back in the back, there are 3 or 4 houses across on A Street. There are the property with like the volleyball court and the swimming pool is also owned by the neighbor across the street that lives there at Sunnyside and Sandy. And so we've lived there in that house 55 years. And my granddaughter, I do have a granddaughter that is interested in building. They're not quite ready right now, but she can't even start anything until we know that that can be residential. And her children already go to school in Haysville. And she would like to live that close to me to help me out. And to, maybe I can stay in my home longer as I get older with her so close. But back when I thought my daughter was gonna build something there, they acted like we could do it. And we had to plat it and survey it. And the man that did that wanted to know if we wanted to go ahead and divide it. And I thought that'd probably be a good idea for my kids, for, getting my affairs in order. And then, so we went ahead and did that. And then after they decided not to, they bought a second home down in Oklahoma and built a garage and put their stuff down there. So, but my granddaughter, like I said, would like to build there. But I don't know how soon that will be, but it's not gonna be decades, because she's got, like I said, kids in Haysville schools already. So, and I don't know, she's not planning on building any great big, huge house. It'll be in line with what else is right there in the residence. But to me, it just made more sense to go ahead and have it as residence, because Ken Salvage next door is the only thing really back in that area that is heavy commercial. So, I don't know, but like I said, that's about all I want to say about it.
I guess my question would be, because it is right next to the salvage, it's like a lot of the lots that are up closer to Broadway, even though they're done heavy commercial right now, that's where the offices are, and there's some homes up there and stuff like that. Would it make sense to have the front lot closer to Broadway be marked as residential, and maybe have the back lot listed so they could put a garage on it, if we could put some kind of an overlay on it?
She
And-
doesn't, my granddaughter wouldn't want to live up there close to Broadway
Well, she
with
could
the
build a house,
3 little kids.
she could build the house further back on that lot, and you could have an entrance from the back side. It would just,
Well, there is already a garage there that we've never done anything with.
yeah.
The people that had the fruit stand there are the people that owned it before us, that we bought it from. But there's a whole housing addition behind me. Grover is 4 blocks long. A Street is there. I don't know how many homes are in that neighborhood, but there's no commercial down in that part of the neighborhood, no. And like I said, I think the swimming pool and that was grandfathered in because it was done before Haysville annexed our area. But no, that's not the part she'd be interested in building on,
Okay.
so.
I think, personally, I think Mr. Booty's concern isn't with the current owners or who might end up, it's if they want to try to sell it someday. And he's trying to nip something in the bud, so, I can understand his concerns. I'd kind of like, I guess my feeling is I'd kind of like planning to look at it again. And to actually make sure that they've got all the information, maybe make sure that when you have somebody that lives right up against it, they notified that, hey, I'm gonna have trouble getting there, and so, because it wasn't read into record and stuff like that, I feel like planning commission should allow him to have his word in it. That's my opinion on it.
I do have one more thing. We sent out 24 of those letters, and Mr. Booty is the only one. I had 2 of the neighbors that called me that asked me what, and he came by my house one day to talk, and I really said I thought we had allayed those.
Yeah, no, because when you do a change, you have to notify people within a certain, so I figured other people were notified.
Right, so there were 24 of them within 200 and some feet, and like I said, I had no complaints, and they're all, I just can't think of any others that are right there where my land is. And it just makes it so hard for me to be able to do I have no intentions of selling it. My intentions are to let my granddaughter build there. And if they can't, right away, I'm not gonna sell it out from under them. I'm trying to get my affairs in order. I'm 77. You never know how much time you have, but I won't sell it. It'd have to be my kids would sell it.
On the zone change, the property that is on Broadway will stay heavy commercial. It's only the back property with the plat, it only has access from the residential neighborhood.
The access is only from the west?
Only from that. When she did the lot split, it has a utility easement, I believe, in between there. So the access is only from the residential neighborhood.
Yeah, it
The
would
only
be.
thing that would be changing residential is the back lot, the west.
The back lot, so I wanted to make sure you understood
Okay.
that. So
Right.
access would be back from the residential neighborhood. The property to the south is the salvage yard, the property that the letter was sent on. Property across the street is zoned residential. But the property to the north that they spoke about with the swimming pool and everything on it is zoned residential. Even if it is the pool house and everything, it is residential. That's what the use is for that. The planning commission, the letter wasn't read out loud, but it was in record because it was in the packet and it was published for the public hearing. It was discussed, So it was provided to them as record. Planning Commission reviews those items and it was discussed. If it is sent back to public hearing, Planning Commission, there is no public hearing again. You can send it back to them to review the letter, but according to the 8 rules that they look at, the outcome will probably still be the same. They base their decision off of facts, so I just want to point that out.
Okay.
I know the chairman did mention the letter was in the packet.
Yes.
I watched the video of the commission meeting. Councilman Walters.
Yeah, I'm just trying to clarify, and I think I agree with what Mr. Crum is saying. You own the property from 8th Street over to Broadway, but the east side is still heavy commercial. Is that what and we're asking for the east side or west side to be changed to residential.
Chris, can you pull up the zoning map?
Yeah.
That's correct,
It's-
Mr. Wolf.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess
West
if
of
there's a
Broadway.
request or concern that all around it, well, to the east, to the north, and to the south, it would still be commercial.
So the
heavy
property,
commercial.
sorry to interrupt, so the property right below, that right there is residential. The property right below is the property that is looking out for the zone change.
Right,
See this, so as you can see, to the north is residential, to the west is residential, to the south is the Air Capital Salvage, which is heavy commercial, and then everything along Broadway is heavy commercial.
Air Capital is to the south, the last 2 blocks.
Yeah, see the arrow, the
red blocks?
6543, yes,
Okay.
and it goes the whole property.
And I think to his question, which seemed reasonable, is not to stop you, because I don't see a problem with that either, except for in the future and trying to nip something in the bud. If they wanted to sell, there might be a problem with the neighbors saying, hey, we have loud industrial there and have complaints. I don't know how we would affect that, if you will, or if we even can. If we said, yes, let's change that to residential with the understanding that you can't complain. I don't think we can do that. So I don't know what the answer to that would be.
You
Not
mean
for you,
the
but for
people at-
future residents that live
Right.
there.
They might be complaining about the salvage.
Right.
Well, yeah, as long as my granddaughter is 30, and I have lived there from the time she was
Sure.
born, and she comes there a lot and all that, so they wouldn't be. And it really isn't noisy that I ever notice.
I think you
So-
could be facing the same situation if the properties to the west sell because you would have a new owner.
It's like, we're all just right there. There's just a street width between the rest of the residents. And I mean, it's a whole residential area. I just don't know what else to say, so.
Councilman Bitter.
I just wanted to reiterate with Mr. Booty, is your primary concern with this the thought that a future owner might become unhappy with your operation and then logically?
Absolutely. We've
That's-
seen that in other yards and other areas when new homes move in, to the north end of Wichita right now, there's battles going on. And we're talking yards that have been in existence for 50 and 60 years. Neighbors move in, neighbors build, and they say, oh my gosh, that car crusher makes all kinds of noise, and oh my gosh, it stinks when you crush a car. And we do everything we can to make it environmentally correct, but it still stinks. When you collapse a vehicle, there are odors that come out that are unpleasant.
Understand.
We capture all of the fluids, we capture all the gases, but it still does not make an area that I would want my 5-year-old playing next to. And that's my concern. I would be thrilled if we use that for any use. As I said, when she was wanting to put storage up there, I couldn't think of anything better for that property. But to put a home with children right up against that fence, we move our operation to that side to keep as far from residences as we can, as far from the front, as far from the back, and we just, we've squeezed in as far as we can. And it's not a year-round operation, so somebody could come in, build a home, and be living there for 4 months before we were running a crushing operation, but then in come dump trucks, compressors.
Through my yard, through your back gate.
Through my back gate,
I've
through
had-
your-
yeah.
You're very
Uh-huh.
familiar with it, and it's not, we do it as quietly as we can, but it's still a necessity. necessary part of our operation. And I plan on being here for a minute. So if this isn't happening in the next 1 year, in the next 5 years, I don't see any sense in crossing this bridge until we're ready to build something.
Well, we can't build anything till we know it's residential. My granddaughter can make no plans and get excited about it and be ready. And then with you making decisions like that, that's you making decisions for my land.
It's me preventing problems from
All right,
coming
Let's
down
bring
the
it back to
road.
council discussion.
Council,
Questions, please.
what would council like to do?
Yeah, I just,
Can I answer your question?
Yeah, and I'll just speak my opinion here. I'm very torn between your two positions, because on one hand, I see a plot of land that is on A Street, which is a completely residential street. There, to me, both sides of the street, it makes sense for those to be residential. On the other hand, I understand your concern, and I appreciate your concern about being worried about a future owner or resident there not being aware that there was the type of operation going on regularly there that you have.
if my
It's a little bit hard for me to believe that someone could buy that property and not know what's going to go on next door. That seems to me that would be kind of naive. And just from my own personal experience, I live in a piece of property that after I built my home there, they brought an industrial park in next door to me. And now I have diesel trucks 50 feet from my back door that
makes it
run
very
all night
personal.
long.
If we go just to the east side of the river, we see a lot of $500,000 homes
Right.
built downstream from a water treatment plant. And a lot of those folks are pretty upset because when the wind comes out of the north, it's a problem.
It's,
They
yeah.
weren't aware when they built the property or built their homes.
I guess I don't know enough about how zoning changes and complaints like that work to know that if I were to go over there and purchase this lot and build a home there next year, then could I come into council next year and say, hey, I don't like that auto crusher. I know he's been there 44 years, but I'm mad about that, so do something about that. Is that even reasonable? Would I be able to lodge a complaint like that? And,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess anyone can complain about anything, but
Right, it doesn't mean it would happen.
You'd have to
But-
find an ordinance that they're in violation of, so if it's a noise thing, they have the opportunity to operate during reasonable hours, so it wouldn't become a problem unless they're crushing cars at hours that you would reasonably think by community standard would be quiet hours, like bedtime hours. So you'd have to find an actual ordinance to complain about if you're gonna bring it to council.
so that crusher's been operating over there for a long time. I mean, I lived over there on Broadway for 70 years, so I know you've been there quite a while.
Yeah.
Have there been any other complaints from the residents there along A Street? Because they're pretty doggone close to you.
They're pretty close, and we've, like I said, 44 years, I have most people come in and say, we didn't know that you were running a salvage yard back here. The worst we've had was when the tomato farm was next door, with KDHE with some environmental issues, we took care of it. We had some issues with mosquitoes from tires, we took care of it. As I said, we tried to be an excellent neighbor.
Does somebody live in your house there by the south?
Councilman Rohr,
Yes.
you have a question?
Yes.
Well,
I thought they did. So.
I'm kinda torn between this. I mean, I don't, because I know Ken, I bought a lot of car stuff from him when I was a kid. And I bought a lot of stuff out of that salvage. But this piece of property right here, I mean, it's in a residential area. And I don't know, my 2 cents worth in it. I mean, if somebody bought that property and looked at that property, all you gotta do is look across the fence and know that there's a salvage over there. I mean, the fence is there. I understand what Ken's talking about, that,
I
you
do
know, the
too,
noise and stuff like that. I mean, I totally understand that, but by the same token, you've got residential housing in that area.
But it is distanced, and when we have the concussion of these crusher operations, it's seismic. It is, you know, the ground shakes near it. The further we get away from that epicenter, if you will, the less impact that you have. But there is concussion, and as I said, my take is there's going to be a problem. when I've seen it happen around the region, it's become a problem. And I'm simply trying to avoid it. And I think if you look at the map, I think we clearly, our predecessors designed this property as heavy commercial up to a neighborhood. And it's worked that way for decades. It was purchased as heavy commercial property. So I don't, nobody was pulling any wool there that this was a heavy commercial piece of ground.
No.
So what would council like to do? Councilman Bitter?
I feel a little bit like Solomon trying to split the baby here with this. I honestly see both sides of your issue. I don't know what to do here except to send it back to planning and have them reconsider.
Can I make a request that when it goes back to plan that I can represent my side because I was not able to on the first go around? And that was not based on it.
It's not a.
Mr. Tardif told me that if you're not there, I'm going to hide your stuff in the back of a packet and pretend like you didn't exist.
Well, there is
I
no,
would have been there.
Yeah, the public hearing has already taken place.
I understand. And your agents, the city's agents, led me to believe that I would be represented, and his only comment on my behalf was, staff recommends approval.
Councilman Walters?
Yeah, I'm kind of going with what I hear from the council as well. I'm torn on this. I think we should, I will make recommendation that we send it back to planning. I understand that it may come back exactly the same, but I would urge the planning commission to look at options and listen to Mr. Booty, if possible, is splitting the baby. I don't have a sword and I don't have a baby, so I'm glad I don't have to do that.
So if you're
We may be
sending it
just
back to
putting it
planning,
off
there
right
needs to
now,
be a
but- I'm
statement. Sorry, if you're sending it back to planning, there needs to be a statement of why and what you would like them to review.
What I would
You-
ask,
Excuse me.
from my point of view, is how can we ensure that whatever this is used would reduce any future complaints from that area, and I'm not really sure how to do that.
And planning commission reviews off the 8 factors and off of facts. So they're gonna review what they reviewed previously and go over it again. But the outcome is still most likely the same based on the rules that they look at from state statute.
And I think if that's left as heavy commercial, all those people that I sent the letters to that didn't complain about residents would be very upset if something heavy commercial came through there and used the back gate and went through their neighborhood. And I'm not saying I'm going to do that. We're talking about what's gonna happen way out in the future. Well, way out in the future, those 23 other people might be concerned about the traffic through that residential neighborhood to get to a business back there.
So Councilman Bitter, you're making a motion to return it to the planning. Do you have a statement that you'd like to see them look at?
I would like to see the issue returned to planning for reconsideration, and I would like both the parties to be able to be present to present their cases in person.
Thank you.
A second.
Well, the public hearing has already taken place.
Can the planning commission can they not revisit those rules if they so choose? It's their rules.
May I make a suggestion, Mayor?
Yes.
You could make a motion to send it back to planning and have the planning chair read the letter in full, and they can discuss the points that were made in the letter. And then at that point, they can review the 8 golden factors again and make sure that they consider that letter for each of those points, and then make their recommendation back to the city council to that point.
So the letter wasn't read in the first hearing?
The letter was included as an item in the packet, similar to as you see the items that we include in the
Right.
council packet. It was in there, and as per custom, the planning packet is put together and they put in the memo to the planning commission, staff report, and at the end, they always put in any notices and communications. So it was not put there in a manner to hide it, but that's where those always go in the packet when it's put together. From what I understand, and I didn't go back and watch the planning commission meeting, it was not read in full. But if that's the concern, that what was in the letter was not made known to all the planning commissioners before they made their recommendation to council, Tim Azier, planning chair, could read the letter in full. They could discuss the 8 factors again, which is what they have to go by when they give their recommendation to council. And they could give their new recommendation to council or whatever the recommendation is at that point.
If one or both parties were there, if the members of planning had any questions, would they be allowed?
Yeah, the planning commissioners can ask questions, same way you guys can.
The applicant was at the meeting. There was no request to table the meeting for future meeting date.
Tim did say the letter was in the back of the packet. He did state that to all the commissioners. All right, so is that your motion?
I'd like to send it back to planning. I'd like to request that the letter be read aloud and in full in the meeting, and that if both parties are present, that they can be allowed to speak if the planning commission had further questions, and that they would then reconsider the 8 rules and go from there.
Gerard, is that your, you second that one?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? And several lights. Let's go in order. Councilperson
I just want to know who owns the property to begin with.
Right now.
Who owns the property in question?
She does.
She does.
You own the property.
I do. My husband bought it, he's passed away, and I own it. And it's from Broadway through to A Street. Probably owned it for 20 years. We haven't done a thing with it but mow it, cut down trees and.
On that side. And that's all, if she owns it, it should be residential anyway. Okay.
Councilman Bitter? All right, so a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Question, please.
Brewster,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Gardner.
Yes.
Ewert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, next item, item B, an ordinance amending and updating the comprehensive plan of the city of Haysville, Kansas, and repealing conflicting previously adopted sections of the comprehensive plan of the city of Haysville, Kansas. Jonathan?
Thank you. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and reviewed the comprehensive plan for the city. Changes are outlined in the staff report in your packet. The Planning Commission is recommending approval. I can try to answer any questions you may have.
Councilperson Parton?
There's no discussion. I make a motion, we adopt an ordinance amending that and updating the comprehensive plan of the city of Haysville, Kansas.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to amend and update the comprehensive plan of the city of Haysville, Kansas. Any discussion? Councilman Crum?
Did it say in this plan, what we just sent back to planning, is that already adjusted on here?
Are you talking about on the land use map?
Yes.
We got the land use map from later.
That's
Yes,
coming
this
up
is
later.
comprehensive
Okay,
plan.
so it's not on here.
The land use map isn't by ordinance, it's just by regular.
Okay.
It's on the agenda later.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Question, please.
Brewster,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Gardner.
Yes.
Ewert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, item C, an ordinance amending chapter 16A, the zoning regulations of the city of Haysville, Kansas, and amending official zoning map or maps of the city to reflect such amendments, all pursuant to the zoning regulations of the city.
Is this that one?
Jonathan?
No, sorry.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure.
Well, I'm worried,
Don't wanna
I think
miss
we
it.
should probably table it.
Yeah.
otherwise-
I agree.
The Planning Commission reviewed the amendments to the zoning regulations. Changes are outlined in the staff report in your packet. The Planning Commission is recommending approval with changes updating the microbrewery use and the tavern and drinking establishment use to permitted use in office commercial and light commercial districts. I can try and answer any questions you may have.
Councilperson Parton?
Make a a motion, we approve the ordinance amending chapter 16A of the zoning regulations of the city of Haysville.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to amend chapter 16A as presented. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
Ewart,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Thank you. Next, we have item D, resolution amending and supplementing resolution number 23-02 of the city of Haysville, Kansas, which determined the visibility of making of certain internal improvements of the city of Haysville, paving improvements, Wheatland Village Addition Phase 1.
So as an explanation on this item and the next 5 that follow it, these are all for the Wheatland Village Edition. So we did the replat, which was approved by council. So basically, when we had the original resolutions that authorized the projects to install the infrastructure done last May, they were based off the original plat. So now, since the property was replatted to add the 32 single-family residential and reduce the duplexes by 3 lots, they have to redo the amendments, and we've also got the petitions in the packet as well. So the developer gave new petitions that outline the new properties, the new parcels based on the new plat, and the bond council makes us amend the resolution so that once the project is complete, we go to do the permanent financing, the specials get assigned to the right properties. So that's what these 6 are, just amending what's already been approved.
So what happened to the ordinances we approved that just go away because that's not what they're gonna do?
These are resolutions, and in the text of them, it repeals and amends the previous resolutions.
Yeah.
So what would council like to do? Councilman Benner.
I make a motion that we approve the resolution amending and supplementing resolution number 23-02 of the city of Haysville, Kansas, et cetera.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Barton.
Yes.
Ewart.
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Next, we have E, resolution amending and supplementing resolution number 23-03 of the city of Haysville, Kansas, which determined the advisability of the making of certain internal improvements of the city of Haysville, Kansas, sanitary sewer improvements, Wheatland Village Addition Phase 1. Councilman Crum.
Make a motion, we approve the resolution amending and supplementing resolution number 2303, having to do with sanitary sewer improvements to the Wheatland Village Addition Phase 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
Ewart.
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Next, we have item F, resolution amending and supplementing resolution number 23-04 of the city of Haysville, Kansas, which determined the advisability of making of certain internal improvements in the city of Haysville, Kansas, water improvements, Wheatland Village Addition Phase 1. Councilman Benner.
I make a motion, we approve the resolution amending and supplementing resolution number 23-04 of the city of Haysville, Kansas.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution amending the resolution as presented. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
Ewart.
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Next, we have a resolution amending and supplementing resolution number 23-05 of the city of Haysville, Kansas, which determined the advisability of making of certain internal improvements in the city of Haysville, Kansas, paving improvements collector, street, Wheatland Village Addition. Councilman Crum.
Make a motion, we approve the resolution amending and supplementing resolution number 23-05 of the city of Haysville, Kansas regarding the paving improvements collector street for Wheatland Village Addition.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
Ewart.
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Next, we have a resolution amending and supplementing resolution number 23-06, the city of Haysville, Kansas, which determined the advisability of the making of certain internal improvements of the city of Haysville, Kansas, stormwater drain improvements, Wheatland Village Addition. Councilman Walters.
Make a motion, we approve the supplemental resolution 2306.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the resolution as presented. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Ewart.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crown.
Yes.
Thompson.
So what's next? Another resolution. 23-07. It's a, yeah, it's a resolution amending and supplementing the resolution number 23-07 of the city of Haysville, Kansas, which determined the advisability of the making of certain internal improvements in the city of Haysville, Kansas. Water main improvements, Wheatland Village Edition. Councilman Walters.
Make motion to approve the supplemental resolution 2307.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Ewart.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crown.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Get
All
the
right,
man
thank
a
you.
bottle of water.
Got through that. All right, next we have item 4, notices of communications. A, governing body announcements. Councilman Crum, you got something?
Actually, I don't have the new calendar for the library. I know that, they've got their regular stuff going on, the Legos, and I know they've still got the Tuesday and Thursday, for the parents as teachers group. We still do the quilting and all those activities. If you have any questions about what's going on, I actually just did my Facebook memories coming up with 5 or 6 years ago. They were having heater problems there. Luckily, that's all been fixed. And, but there's lots of stuff going on. I know they were busy over break, and it's a good way when the weather's cold and kind of everybody's staying inside. It's a good thing to take your kids over, or just even for adults to go over and check out some of the stuff that's at the library.
Notice they close early because of snow.
Did they close early?
Yep.
I know.
At 4 o'clock.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else have any announcements? No, I have a few. First one, the Senior Center upcoming events. Dementia presentation, Thursday, January 11th at 12:30. Soup dinner, Friday, January 12th at 6 p.m. They will be closed January 15th for Martin Luther King Day. There will be no January commodities. Faith Home Health presentation will be Tuesday, January 23rd at 1 p.m. Downsizing 101, Thursday, January 25th at 1 p.m. Breakfast, Saturday, January 27th at 10 a.m. Valentine's dinner and dance, Friday, February 9th at 6 p.m. Went to that last year, so it's pretty good. Good entertainment. The hustle numbers for December of 2023, one-way riders, 194. New registered riders, 2. So total for 2023, the total number of rides was just under 3,000. It was 2,993. And new registered riders for last year was 70. So it is time to renew memberships. So I know you all gave you all the membership application if you like. It's only $5 for the whole year. We already have, or they already have about 100 people registered. It's only the 8th. This last year, there were 513 members that were active. So that's the largest number they've had. The prior year, it's an increase from prior year 2022 was 368. So there's a lot more members last year. So hopefully you will register or be a member if you haven't already. Tell your friends and neighbors. It's a great area over there. Something else I like to talk about is the 1% sales tax. So we know that was a very close result on the November election. 472 were for it, 473 were against it. So it lost by 1 vote. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about and bring back up and see what council would like to do. Bring it back to another vote. So street maintenance and repairs are not going away. We will always have those. Parks and Recreation would benefit from the 1% sales tax. And something else we would like to do, Park Board would like to do, is add some ADA equipment for the parks. Something in addition, we'd like to use 10% of the sales tax proceeds to help reduce property taxes. So that would go back into the to help lower the mill levy. So I would also like for it not to have an expiration date like the last one that expired after 10 years. because street maintenance and repair will not go away after 10 years. That also gives the, so the next council, 10 years from now, if approved, would not have to go through the same thing as far as asking for the sales tax to be approved again. This would also help in budgeting short and long-term projects. So if it doesn't end, it could be used for 10-year, 20-year projects. Having a sales tax would establish a broad tax base. It would capture those that live outside the city, so it's not just property owners or people in the city contributing to it. And I would like to bring it back on as a special election in May. I know it's, at that time it'll have been 6 months since the last election, but the question will also be different from the previous one. Last year sales tax brought in $1.3 million, so it brought in quite a bit of money to help with street repair. 50% with the street repair and maintenance, and the other part went towards parks and recreation. And so I just want to get your thoughts on that, Councilman Grum.
Well, I totally agree that it's needed, and I think a lot of people just don't understand what has been done over the years with that money. So I would bet almost everybody that voted no has no idea how much has actually been done with that money. You said it would be different. How would it be different besides the sunset? Would we
be using 10% of that to help? What I said,
offset?
Reduce
So that would be
property
part
tax.
of the, that would be in the proposal, in the.
Correct. So 10% would help. I'd like to use 2% of the sales tax proceeds to reduce property taxes.
So that 10% would go right into general fund?
Yeah, we could have a line item in the general fund budget, and that would be an offset to the expenditures, so it would be seen by everybody, and we base it off the previous years or the estimate, if we see that the sales tax has gone up over the years.
Okay, so there'd be a way to track that.
Yes.
Do we know any other cities around here that have done anything like that, cities or counties?
Which part?
Using it to help knock down some property tax?
I don't know of any. Will, do you?
I'm sorry, I don't know that right now.
Yeah.
But we know that it would be, okay.
You'd have to put it in the question. Just like previously, we had in the question that this would be used for a street program, parks and rec. And then each year when we did the budget, we set the percentages that went to each of those. But yeah, you'd have to put it in the question to have 10% used to offset property taxes or to reduce the property taxes.
I guess what I'm asking though is do we know, is that legal? Like if it did pass and somebody said, well, I don't want to do this because I don't think that that's a way you should be able to use sales tax money. If they went, is there anything that would set a precedence that said that we couldn't do this?
We can definitely research it.
We can look at it.
I think other cities have done it, but I just can't name one right now that's doing it.
I mean, when I looked at it last time, it was to Will's point, we just have to specify where the money goes. I mean, in my research, I didn't see anything, I mean, I could look again, but I didn't see anything that said you can't use these funds for this purpose or that purpose. You just had to tell the voters what you planned on using the funds for, so they can make an informed decision on whether they wanted to vote, yes or no on the matter. With that being said, if you guys say, this is what we wanna do, Josh, go look at it, I'm happy to go research that, specific questions.
Okay, I would be curious if we decide to do it, because I'd hate for us to do that and then find out that there was some kind of hiccup on there and you really can't do that. I think it's a really good idea. Like I said, the sales tax is really, really important for the city.
Good question. So I'd like for this to be a special election because a lot of people go to the poll and they may see that question for the first time. So they may not know exactly what it means or what it does or how it benefits the city. And as far as May, because you cannot have a special election within 45 days of another election. So there is on March 19th, there is a presidential preference primary. So you cannot have it within 45 days of that.
Okay.
And then we have the primary in August, and then
there's just
general
a window.
election. So there's just a small window, which is in May or at the beginning of June. So May would be the soonest. And like first week in June would be the latest for a special election. Councilperson Barton?
Well, I think a lot of people don't realize that 1% sales tax is $1 on $100. It's not that much. Number two, I have a problem with being able to adjust what when we ask them what, and tell them, okay, we're gonna use 0.5% here, 0.5%, or 30% here, 10% here, 10% here. I don't think we should be able to adjust that because that's what they voted on. That it was gonna be 50% here, you know. The other thing is it gonna be a mail-in ballot?
It'd be at the poll, but I would like for it to be at the,
I think we get more if we did a mail-in. Cause we got, what, 600, 700 is all we got?
last time, yeah, like 800, about
Yeah.
900 something.
Yeah. And how many voters do we have registered in Haysville? A lot more. And a lot of people afterwards said, well, I figured it'd pass. So, I don't know. And are we going to have town hall meetings to get the word out? Public education is a big thing. That's how come some of these other ones passed, because of the public education.
Yeah.
Facebook doesn't work. Not reaching enough people.
Yes, we will be doing that.
And just Channel 7's not good either, because not everybody has Channel 7.
Well, I don't anymore.
Councilman Walters?
I agree with what's been said, basically just ditto those issues. We do need to get the word out. How we do that, I think is a big issue. I think it's a good idea to have a special election in May in the window that we're looking at. But we have to present it to the people, because once they understand what it does for them, it's almost a no-brainer. I'm not gonna say, I mean, it's a good thing. It's a really good thing that what we've been able to do as a city to support the community. So yeah, if people really understood that, what it does would probably, you know, I would say 95% of the time would say, absolutely, let's do that. So we have to figure out how to get the word out. Much more so than we did. We have to have a plan on how to do that. And I think that's a good idea to go ahead and push forward for a special election.
I agree.
Councilman Crum?
Is this something we have to make a motion on right now, or would we direct staff to come up with an ordinance and have us look at that and then approve that?
We don't have to make a motion, we'll just have staff, come up with those, what I mentioned. And then, they'll bring it back next council meeting.
I do have a question.
Yes.
I would think so.
Would council like the ordinance that has the question to specifically say 10% for property tax reduction, 50% for streets, 30% for rec, and 10% for park? Or would it like to say 10% for property tax reduction and the remaining for the street program, parks, and rec, as the previous questions have said?
Which is what we have done in the past, and then as council, we have always, mainly 50% for streets, then either 10 and 40 for parks and rec, or 25-25, it's whatever council, wants to do, it's in the budget, it's approved every year.
I think to be upfront and to let everybody know, it'd be good to put the 10% in there and to put 50% of streets, and then put 40%
Parks and rec.
Parks and rec. And that way, there's a little bit more flexibility there with that. That would be my opinion.
I would
agree.
say what you said second, the 10%, because that's unique, but the rest, I think you're limiting yourself if we do that.
Well, but there was a lot of complaints from people about where it was being spent and how it was being spent. They didn't think it was being spent where it's supposed to be being spent. So that's my thing about putting it percentages in there. But like he said, we do 50% streets.
Everybody's riding the streets.
Right, see, and that's why I think those are the two most
And
important things
10%
they
for
can
property
see.
tax,
So
and
does
then
that line
split
up
the
with
rest
what
of
we have spent in the past?
50% on streets, yeah.
Well, except that it's been 50% for park and rec, and now we're taking 10% out of that 50% for
If
property
it lines
tax.
up, it's a moot point.
But that way, it's up front.
Okay.
Do you want 50% for streets and then 40% for parks and rec?
Yep,
Then we can decide how much goes to park and rec.
right. That gives us more flexibility.
Okay,
Because most people think park and rec is the same thing.
Anyway, yeah.
good. All right, thank you.
And so we're taking the sunset off.
Correct, yes.
Does anybody else in the cities around us, do they have sunsets or not have sunsets?
Clearwater does not.
Yeah, Clearwater did not. Theirs passed 75 to 25%.
Had a special election.
But theirs was,
Had a special election.
well, but they were also upfront about it and got the information out.
And we will be doing that too.
Good. That's my big thing.
One more announcement I have is, January 24th is the 2024 Local Government Day in Topeka. That's where the League of Kansas Municipalities will co-host the event with the Kansas Association of Counties. So it's like an all-day, all-afternoon event. And they encourage local elected officials to go there and talk to their House reps and Senate reps. And they will also review the statement of municipal policy. So if it's something you're interested in, it's on their website to register. It's free. All right, next we have B, Sedgwick County Fire Department, Station 34 monthly report. It is in your packet. Item C, Economic Development Quarterly Report. Danielle?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. You have the combined fourth quarter and annual economic development report in your packets. I just want to point out a few items. New to this report on page 9 is the analytics for the weekly newsletter mailing list that Georgie sends out. And then regarding the marketing campaign and promotions on page 6, I do want to point out that PBS has been working on a documentary that will air in March called Kansas from Above, Cities and Towns. That documentary will include Haysville. Also, Haysville's 3 incentives have been publicized by several news sources in the fourth quarter, including the Wichita Eagle article in the Dining with Denise column on October 2nd, KSN October 9th, and on December 19th, when they reported about leakers coming, and Cake on November 14th. And I continue to promote and talk to potential businesses regarding the 3 incentives and to promote Haysville in general. Finally, not mentioned on this report, I want to give a quick update on Coppertail. The first set of buildings will be completed in March. They will then put the finishings on, and 8 to 10 units or 2 to 3 buildings will be available for lease in April or May. Then approximately another 8 units or 2 buildings each month following. They currently have 8 families on the waiting list, and they are working on a lease application right now, and then they will work on our website in the next few months. And that is what I have for you this evening. Any questions or comments?
So there is one. Councilman Crum.
Can I be a pain?
Yeah.
On the grant stuff, which I love you putting it in there,
Mhm.
could you give us a total, we applied for this much money worth and we received this much, or how many we did instead of, cause I have to add and stuff. If that
So
was
like
everything.
per year?
Right,
or-
just so
Okay.
we know, hey, we got $2.6 million in grant money this year, or this quarter, or this year, that would be awesome.
Absolutely, I can do
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Danielle. Appreciate it. Next, we have item D, Park Board Annual Report. It is in your packet. Recreation Department Annual Report, also in your packet, along with the Senior Center Annual Report and the Police Department Annual Report. Next, we have item 5, Old Business. We have none. Item 6, Other Business. A, Selection of President of Council. Angie.
Good evening. I will take nominations for the President of Council.
Councilperson Ewert.
I'd like to nominate Dale Thompson.
there any other nominations? Okay. Well, congratulations, Councilmember Thompson.
By
President
default.
Thompson.
Congratulations, I hope you wanted it. So.
Well, he didn't say no,
Yes,
so.
that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
You did not deny it.
He didn't say no.
You are it. All right, item B, consideration of changes to the land use map. Jonathan.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The Planning Commission held a workshop and then a public hearing to review revisions to the land map use. Recommended revisions are in the memo before you. This is before you for your consideration.
This one has the one that's already, okay. I'll make a motion that we table this till the next meeting.
Or until that comes back.
So just one thing to consider, the land use map is just future use of the land. It doesn't regard or have any indication on the zoning map. So I mean, this is just future, what we see, what we want this property to be in the future, long-term plan.
I'd still like to table it.
Okay.
And so we have a motion to table the land use map.
Second.
We have a second.
Oh, I thought somebody already seconded.
Any
I thought
discussion?
somebody already seconded.
Question, please.
Nobody seconded.
Brewster,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Barden,
Yes.
Ewart,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crown,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, next we have consideration of agreement with Sedgwick County regarding the senior center. There's a memo in your packet telling you of any updated changes from last year. Councilperson Barton.
Make a motion, we accept the agreement with Sedgwick County for their senior center.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to, for the agreement with Sedgwick County regarding the senior center. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Barden,
Yes.
Ewart,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crown,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, next we have D, consideration of bids for survey equipment. Tony?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have received bids to replace our aging survey equipment. Our current equipment requires repairs beyond what almost a new system would cost. We utilize our survey equipment to map all of our water, sanitary sewer, stormwater, and street assets. And we're seeking authorization to purchase the Sokia GRX3 from Ozark Laser in the amount of $15,620. This will be split evenly between water, sewer, parks, stormwater, and street maintenance accounts. Stand for any questions you may have.
Councilman Crum?
Tony, in the past, I know we've done a whole bunch of equipment that's all GPS based and everything like this. Is this just something else that's just got a specific use that the other GPS stuff we have doesn't work, or?
So this piece of equipment isn't for any like heavy equipment. Like some of the big construction companies can actually model a computer program and actually take a bulldozer out and actually do it off a computer program. We utilize this to map those assets, or if we design something in-house, we can actually go stake it off of a computer program into the real world, if that makes sense. The one we have now went down about a month ago. We looked into trying to get it repaired, and it was almost as cost as a brand new one.
But don't we have other GPS equipment that we use for other stuff?
No, except for the old stuff, the laser and things like that.
I was thinking just a couple of months ago, we approved something that was GPS.
We use-
GIS
yeah.
licensing for
Okay.
software.
Yeah.
This is the physical, go out in the field and mark stuff.
Okay.
What would council like to do? Councilperson Barton?
I make a motion, we accept the bid for the Sokia GRX3 for $15,620.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the bid as presented. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Barden,
Yes.
Ewart,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crown,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have item 7, department reports. A, administrative services. Georgie?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want to let everyone know the Senior Center annual chili cook-off is coming up on Saturday, February 17th from 11 to 2. If you'd like to register, you can contact the Senior Center.
Thank you. Next, we have item B, city clerk.
City offices will be closed January 15th for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. If you have any water or sewer emergencies, please call 529-5912. And I did just remember that we need to conserve your water January, February, and March because the sewer rate averages is done during those months. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next we have police. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to announce our visiting officer this evening is Officer Scott Kitzenberger. He's out there somewhere. So say hi to him as you go by out there. He is currently assigned to the evening shift, which is usually this time of night. Also just wanted to remind everybody with the weather coming in, just slow down a little bit. It's probably gonna get slick outside, so just make sure you slow down. Give yourself a few extra minutes to get where you're going. Also, with the wind chills coming up at the end of the week, it's supposed to get a little chilly. So make sure you're mindful of your animals outside and bring them inside and bundle up if you're gonna be outside and exposed to the weather. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next we have Public Works. Tony.
Just wanted to report the lowering of the water transmission line you guys approved in November has been completed on 79th Street. We did not encounter any issues, so.
Another successful lowering of the. Next we have Recreation. Rob.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Haysville Activity Center will begin registration for youth soccer on January 15th. Baseball and softball registration begins January 22nd. We are taking registrations next week for Daddy Daughter and the Shamrock Shuffle 5 games. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, item 8, appointments. I'd like to appoint several people here. First one is Danny Walters to the Historic Committee as the mayor's designee. Councilman Benner.
Make a motion we approve the appointment of Danny Walters to the Historic Committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Danny Walters to the Historic Committee. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Abstain.
Martin.
Yes.
Ewert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you didn't say no.
Yeah, well,
Historically, that's the right thing to do.
Next, item B, Municipal Judge Terry Bill. Councilman Crum.
I'll make a motion that we approve the appointment of Municipal Judge Terry Beal.
Second.
Motion and a second for to appoint Terry Bill as municipal judge. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Ewert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Next, we have the city attorney, Joshua Pollock. He's waiting. No. I'm just kidding. That's person Parton.
I make a motion, we appoint Josh as city attorney.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Josh as the city attorney. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Ewert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Next, we have item D, city prosecutor. I'd like to table this until next month. She turned in her resignation. She'll be resigning at the end of the month. Councilman Crowe.
I'll make a motion that we table the city prosecutor appointment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table the city prosecutor appointment. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Ewert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Next, Chief Administrative Officer, Will Black. Councilman Crowe.
I make a motion that we approve the appointment of Will Black, Chief Administrative Officer.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Will Black as the Chief Administrative Officer. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Ewert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Next, we have the Deputy Administrative Officer, Georgie Carter. I'd like to appoint her. Councilman Walters.
Make a motion to appoint George Carter as Deputy Administrative Officer.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Georgie Carter as the Deputy Administrative Officer. Any discussion? Councilman Bitter?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. You had your light on, so. Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Ewert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
I'd be happy to discuss it if you want to.
Well, I saw your light on.
Yeah, the light was on earlier, but we can discuss it.
All right, city clerk, treasurer, Angie Millspaw. Councilman Walters.
Make a motion to appoint Angie Millspaw as city clerk treasurer.
Second.
A motion and a second to appoint Angie Millspaw as city clerk treasurer. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Hebert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Next, chief of police, Jeff Whitfield. Councilman Walters.
Make a motion to appoint Jeff Whitfield as chief of police.
Second.
A motion and a second to reappoint Jeff Whitfield as the chief of police. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Hebert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
You guys are fast on these lights. All right, next we have Public Works Director, Tony Martinez. Councilman Crum.
I make a motion that we approve the appointment of Tony Martinez as Public Works Director.
Second.
Second.
A motion and a second to appoint Tony Martinez as the Public Works Director. Any question, any discussion? Councilman Walters, you got your light on?
Yes.
You good? All right. Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Hebert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right. Next we have Recreation Director, Rob. Councilperson Parton.
Make a motion, we appoint Rob as the recreation director.
Second.
A motion and a second to appoint Rob Arneson as the Recreation Director. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Hebert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Congratulations, you're all reappointed. Get to work. All right, next we have item 9, off-agenda citizens to be heard. There are none. Item 10, executive session, we have none scheduled. Item 11, review of expenditures, we did that last month. Item 12, consent agenda. Councilman Crum.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Hebert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Next, we have item 13, council items. A, council concerns.
What about B?
Are we gonna hire the band?
Band?
Consent agenda.
That's an consent agenda.
Oh,
We did it all.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
consent agenda, you
They're
approve
gonna have,
everything.
they're gonna have liquor at the party and
all or nothing at all.
Yeah.
a band
C.
on Saturday night.
So item 13, council items. A, council concerns. Does council have any concerns? No concerns? Good.
Unusual.
Yeah, Councilman Brewster, no concerns?
Nope.
Great. All right, B, council action request updates.
Just an update on the 7106 South Broadway, not trying to be redundant, but hopefully this will be the last one like this. It's continued for district court on January 29th of 2024. It'll go before on a jury trial. Thank you.
All right, next we have item 14, adjournment.
Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting. Any discussion? Question, please.
Brewster.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Hebert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right.
Josh.